Hey, welcome back to 18 Outdoors. We're sitting here looking at racks.
Yep.
You know, so look here.
So far, so good.
So far, a pretty decent season. You know, this is Daniel's. If y'all don't know who this is, Daniel Williams, Cedar Ridge Chronicles, Cedar Ridge rod building.
Yeah, Cedar Ridge custom rod, fishing rods.
And
a little bit of everything.
Taxidermy. So,
got a little ADHD, so I keep myself occupied.
ADHD? You got ADHD?
Yeah. Believe it or not.
Anyway, we're sitting here looking at these racks. We're going to talk about how the season is going so far, and this is Daniel's first public land buck, right?
This is my first.
All right, this one. Mm-hmm. A double drop time, 2.5-year-old. So just a, I mean,
yep.
Look how unique.
Young buck, but he's a cool deer. I may not ever see another drop time buck again in my life. That's awesome.
Even though it's not a big buck, but it's a thing like a unicorn, because like I've never had a picture of one ever.
Right.
You know, with a single drop time, let alone a double drop time. So you can't pass that up. And then he kills this, which is this is a very good buck. So smooth, clean 11 point, which we talked about this in the video already once, but we got them all skull capped and, you know, kind of talking and comparing and looking, you know, and just enjoying the moment right now. Then got mine here. Everybody done seen it, but it's just my crossbow buck, smooth, clean 10, 114-inch deer. This is what, 120?
128.
128, awesome buck. So, you know, good season so far. Not, you know, I guess it could be better, but killing one on public land, a highly pressured public land, period, is good. And Daniel's been hunting on public land for how many years now?
2 years.
Two?
Yeah, well, we went a little bit 3 years ago just to go out there and ride the roads and sit a few times and kind of see where the pressure was at, stuff like that. We probably didn't go 10 times. And then
10 times, pretty good bit. So.
Well, it is not for me, but for a lot of people it is. We went.
Most people don't give up at 10 times.
I usually go 10 times during bow season. You know, but we went after that season and did some scouting that spring for last year, and saw some deer last year, but still didn't have any kind of like rut dates. We didn't know, you know, in public land you can't just go and look at books or just ask people what the deer do, because I mean you ain't gonna get a whole lot of information without finding out something for yourself, whether it's cameras or right. Sitting there. So we got to watch a lot last year and see what happened in person, and then also I think we had 7 cameras up last year and was able to get some dates, some specific dates of when to be where. So these deer were killed in the same exact places we hunted last year. We were just there the completely wrong weeks last year.
Right.
We went back and checked cameras and had deer all over us 2 weeks wrong, you know, early or late.
Them dates, it's amazing what you can miss just by 1 week or something of a bunch of action, or miss by just being 100 yards somewhere else.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And
sometimes 100 yards makes a difference in a few weeks.
Yes.
The way that bucks move around. I mean, that's a lot of the deer that we kill are not necessarily, I don't think they're just for the hot does. I think sometimes they're even in a transition from maybe this doe group to this doe group.
Yeah. And
I may only catch them once, but I may catch 4 bucks once going one direction. And in that spot every year, usually some bucks will come through there then. Yeah. So they may be going somewhere else, but sometimes you can catch them those few days, you know. Yeah. As long as you got enough of those days, you can kind of chase them around.
Right. You get 2 or 3 areas like that where you can get a kind of a timing of multiple bucks, you know, to checking doe groups. That's my favorite. Everybody knows that. That's my favorite style of hunting.
Me too. I love
the highest odds to me of seeing something, you know, good enough to shoot.
Absolutely. It's harder to target a specific deer sometimes doing that. Yeah. Oh, especially, you know, I don't do a whole lot of hunting bedding areas, especially during the rut. You really can't. You know, a lot of people have trouble hunting the rut that like to hunt food and bedding. Right. They struggle during the rut, and I think that's a lot of why we're trying to find that one specific buck, and he may be 5, 6, 8 miles away. Yeah. Whereas what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out where all the bucks are ending up at certain dates in certain places. So I may be hunting 4 or 5 people's bucks, but you don't really know exactly how big they're going to be or where they're going to be, or you know exactly what you're looking at. But I didn't have pictures of either one of these deer, you know, but I had pictures of good deer in those places. So
yeah, that's what happened with me. 90% of the bucks that I killed in them places, I don't have a picture of it.
Right,
But
right.
them pictures during them 2 weeks or whatever it is tells you
That's
that
the time.
multiple bucks are going through there for some reason, something about the area, something about the pinch or the doe groups, whatever,
Right.
that brings them through there at that time. And it's generally about the same time every year, unless you have something kind of off, like last season, the acorn crop and the drought stuff might have moved them a little bit, especially lower and stuff. And the rut part, this is the biggest difference this year to me is last year you didn't see hardly any kind of chasing, but this year everybody you talked to that
it's
killed a
been
deer
crazy.
or
Yeah.
seen deer was hearing crazy grunting,
A
chasing,
lot of sign
going
out,
on,
a lot of sign on the ground, and
a lot of visible sign. We had plenty of rain, sometimes a lot of rain, plenty of acorns. It got a little bit dry there at one point, but all that stuff was already pretty much took care of. And the deer numbers in this place last year that were harvested was a lot lower. Probably half, maybe a little bit more than half. They picked it up a little bit toward the end of the season, but this year, due to I guess the acorns, plenty of food, and maybe more bucks.
yeah.
I mean, who knows? But
I think this
very
last
more
year,
active.
some of them probably didn't get killed that normally would have because of the conditions.
a crazy, very active rut. The 10-point I killed with a crossbow was chasing. You had
That
action.
he was with a buck, and they were chasing. They were after 2 does in there for. I watched them for almost an hour in a thicket before I ever did get a shot. And then he was with a doe that was him and a spike were both chasing the doe when they come through. We saw 8 bucks chasing does in 2 weeks.
Jamie McKay killed a monster one chasing doe. Chase Parker killed one, chasing doe. Several people, and several buddies. We had, a bunch
Jeremy,
of buddies.
my buddy Jeremy killed that 8
Jeremy.
point chasing a doe. Yep.
So I mean, and we had a lot of buddies this year had a lot of success. So far, and a lot of state is just now starting to get cranked up.
Yeah,
So,
we was even naming people. It was like, so and so's doing, so and so's doing. Then they, like Chase. We was talking about Chase last. It was like, I can't believe Chase had a shot. And sure enough, he got him one.
He got one.
It's pretty cool. Pretty neat for everybody to be able to share in the, in the excitement.
Right,
It's fun to be that guy sometimes, but this year kind of everybody got a turn.
Everybody. You ain't feeling sorry for anybody really.
Right, or for yourself.
And
Either one.
everybody's been trying, pushing hard and staying hard after it. And then this year it's like, seems like it should start, once it started, boom, 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 boom. So I didn't see a deer till my 5th set. That's one, and I killed one.
Yeah.
So,
Well, before this weekend, when I killed that deer, I think we had only seen 3 deer, and it sat like 18 times or something like that.
Wow.
It had been rough, but we, from our scouting we had done, we weren't planning on seeing deer till then. We were just going because it was hunting season.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like when that was Thanksgiving morning. I killed that deer, and that was the first date that we had written on the calendar to actually be successful, and that's when it all started. It was right then.
yeah, this year's rut during that time frame, that's what was neat. It was just from like November 15th.
Right around the 14th,
15th.
15th. Yeah, and on through about that the first week of December. It seemed a little bit earlier this year on average than last year, especially in my shop.
It's been a crazy active rut, and I don't know. See, this year I've seen 2 bucks for sure chasing and grunting, and maybe another one that just couldn't really hear the noise, and then Kathy had one following a doe, so I couldn't tell you. I've never seen more than one in a year chasing, so it's just, 1 year every now and then I've seen one chasing, grunting, doing all that, and it's just.
We see a bunch on private land, and that's something that's been interesting to me hunting public. Now that we kind of have a place to go where we think we'll see decent deer, where we kind of know where we're at, is that on private land, we see a lot of deer chasing because we already know where they're going to be those dates. But the difference is you may get a picture of a buck, like say you got an 8-point on camera, it's a 3-year-old. Well, the next year, you're going to have that same 8-point on camera. If you didn't shoot him and the pressure's right, you got the right neighbors, you may get the same bucks on camera year after year after year, and you know where they're going to end up those dates. So that's kind of where I learned to do that to begin with. But on public land, you don't know if the deer are dead or not.
No.
You know, so
you might every now and then if it's specific deer.
Yeah,
You know, so
yeah, we just weren't real sure what was going to happen. You know, so and sure enough, I mean, so far we have not seen any of the deer that we had on camera last year. But you know, there were still bucks running everywhere on the same dates the bucks we had last year were. So I guess that's a little bit of advantage on public land when you really don't know, because you know everybody don't post on social media what they killed.
Right.
So there's no telling what deer never made it or have already been shot even this season that you just don't have available to you anymore. The reason why you picked that spot in the first place. So it is kind of nice to have these random deer show up, which is exciting to me anyway. I love having a deer that's not on camera just pop up out of nowhere. I seen him running off the hill. I was like, oh my gosh, there he is. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when you see them like that coming, you know, heart starts to beat good.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, we've had a few deer that we had on camera last year that we've not had them on camera this year yet. So we do know we had one pretty good one that we got several times on camera this year. When I pulled, and I had a cell cam, and he come by the other night. Yeah. And so he was more than likely, there's no more gun hunts going on, so unless somebody whacks him with a bow, you know, he'll make it the next year. A pretty good one, but one of the ones I had like a target for this year. So far, I've not had a camera picture of him, but I got 2 cameras that I've not checked. You know, one of them I haven't checked since like August. The other one I haven't checked since October, I think. So, so we'll see. But and there were some dang good deer killed this year in this area, and but it looks like, you know, we're already talking about next season there, kind of, but it looks like it's going to be great next season.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Well,
we're going to start keep talking about the rest of this season because it's fixing to be January here in a couple of days. Yeah, Alabama, but it can be rough.
Right. We killed all of these before December.
Yeah, so it's,
up here we just about done.
Last year I didn't kill a deer till January. Yeah. So and that's kind of unusual, but
which I was hunting, you know, further south, but I didn't kill last year till January.
So, but
it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens next year on camera because, you know, the first year we put out cameras, there was more acorns than I've ever seen, and a very wet fall.
The year I killed that monster with those acorns everywhere.
It was crazy. Well, then that was the spring that we did our scouting. So all the sign that we found was based on the bumper crop of acorns of the century. Yeah. Well, then we go back the following year and put out cameras and try to hunt those areas, and there wasn't any sign in the woods because there was no food. Yeah. So you had no food but a little bit of water. Well, all the deer kind of did something a little different, and we didn't adjust soon enough, and still got some pictures of some good bucks in the same spots. They just didn't have, I mean, there's places that were trails that didn't have a scrape on them that still had bucks traveling them. So then this year you go in there, and the bucks we got on camera last year weren't there this year, but this year we did have food, but a drought. So the first 3 times I put cameras and sit out there, you got 3 completely opposite conditions. Yeah. You know.
Well, the drought thing there, they still have water. This place is kind of odd about the way it holds water in places. It's got some real good seeps and stuff. Yeah. The acorn crop being as massive as it was, they could eat acorns and get water pretty easy. You know, so it wasn't as bad. That part of the drought just it knocked the browse down a little bit on the tops. But other than that, to me they traveled more.
Yeah, the main thing I noticed was about two or three of the places that I had scouted a little bit last year to hunt during bow season. This year, the creek systems that were pretty big creek systems. It wasn't like major creeks in the very bottoms, but big feeder creeks were rock. There wasn't, I couldn't even find a puddle in them. Like places where there might be a hole where deer may be drinking. It had just been dry for so long that the deer had just kind of abandoned those areas and probably just moved down in elevation.
Moved down just a tad. So, yeah. So, but this year now though, we've had plenty of rain. So we've had rain yesterday. So everywhere, you ain't got to worry about any of that right now. But the other public land places that we move on to, which you're going to do some private.
Yeah, we'll start next week on our private land.
But we're going to do some more public, which we just got through doing Okmulgee, and you know, seen deer and didn't see what we was looking for, and but there's some more management areas. One is kicking off right now. Well, actually 2 of them we know of. RUT's kicking off real good. So if you're watching this and wondering about where to go now, you know, plenty of them. You know, Sam Murphy. If you like cutover and stuff, thick pines, you know, SMZs, Sam Murphy. Bunch of deer, Sam Murphy. 2 deer a day you can kill there, doe and a buck, and RUT's going on right now. So not a huge mammoth area. It's less than 20,000 acres. I think
Something like that. I can't remember the exact number.
So, but anyway, but
it's hot right now.
It's hot, you know, and then Skyline, you know, people don't get mad for me quoting these mammoth areas, but hey, they're big areas, you know, so Skyline's a huge area, you know, there's been some good deer killed there, you know, here lately. And then you got Freedom Hills fishing get cranked up, so Okmulgee still, you know, it's a little bit later than their rut, but still, you know, hot enough, so you got multiple places you can still go right now if you're bow hunting. You know, you can wheelers fishing get cranked up, so and I think they're fixing to do a flintlock hunt fixing to be coming up there, I think so. But anyway, the rest of the state, I mean, for now, you know, you got plenty of options. You know, either you know, public land or private. So and
yeah, there's something going on everywhere right now.
It really, I mean, seriously, this year's rut is times 10 compared to any other year, as far as I know of.
And I've been hearing that all over the state too. It wasn't just up here. It was a lot of different places, private land, public land, everywhere. People are seeing sign early. You know, even before the does get ready or anything, bucks are putting the sign down a month, month and a half early, in advance, kind of where they're going to plan on being. So
I think it was because that last year everything kind of they just didn't exert much energy, and this year they're ready to go, I guess, with the food. But it's amazing the signs put out, the chase and the activity, the response. You know, I rattled one in, a smaller one that rattled one in, you know, and grunting them in, you know, the scent stuff is working great. So all kind of options of how you can hunt right now is doing it, you know. So finding the doe groups is the biggest thing I would do right now, or finding some food maybe. So, but finding them dang doe groups, you know, fresh grapes, multiple options that you can do right now. Culling, you know, it's just, and there'll be plenty of people hunting right now because the ones that have held back because they know their areas if it get hot. These pieces of public land in other parts of the state, you know, a lot of people now are starting to hold back and not overhunt places. They're waiting for the timing, and then, you know, go to these places and be ready to hunt. So it's just, I'm going to try. My work schedule is kind of messing with me a little bit, but you still got over a month.
Yeah, still a lot of time left.
You know, February 10th. You know, I'm seeing.
Yeah, South Alabama, you can kill a fire out of February 10th.
I'm seeing a lot of you northern guys up there that's already wrapping your seasons up.
Yeah, they're dropping antlers. Yeah. They're fighting sheds already.
You know, that's kind of sad for y'all to an extent, but if you want to, come on south.
Yeah, we go up there.
We go up there early, so y'all might get mad at us when we come up there early. Y'all come on down here now, that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah,
you know,
we got to share somewhere.
Yeah, we got to share.
This is the age of the internet. It ain't a secret no more.
No,
we just hunt, we kill deer. That's it.
Yeah, so Kathy, she's been chomping at the bit, won't go. It's going to be cold too. We got a little chance of snow
supposed to get
flurries.
cold this next weekend.
So, yeah, it's going to be low 20s coming up, so that'll get them moving some more too. So, you know, and if we was to have some kind of snowstorm, that might hold them out. I don't think we'll have that, but they're talking about some chances of some flurries and stuff coming. But that cold weather and this time of the year, they'll be cruising, walking, cutovers. Boy, if you like to cutover, that'd be the prime stuff. Get your real frosty cold morning, sun coming up, cutover is a great place to be, you know. So, and then some of the river system areas will be starting to pick up that people like doing down south. So. But it's going to be, I can't wait to kind of see what's going to happen because it's been pretty intense up here, you know, the northern parts, the early rut areas. So, and if the south's going to pick up like that, you know, it's going to be amazing. We've already had the first 200-inch plus buck killed in Alabama in the last 10 or 12 years, I think. So, and it was a daggum nice one. And they say that they didn't even know the deer was in the area. But somebody was telling me. So.
No, it was on a lease. I didn't believe.
Like Fayette County or something like that. So, but that sucker was a whopper. I mean, he was a nice one. And there've been some other real good ones killed. So anyway, I'm still
fired.
Was
what, 207?
Yeah, 207 or something.
Something like that.
No, it might have been more than that. I take that back. Yeah, I think, Steve Lucas posted it's the 5th largest free-range buck killed in Alabama.
I think that's right.
So it's, I like in the 230s, I think, the gross score, which is
maybe
buck
gross.
matcher, which is, you know, the only basic system we got now that's you know, that you can find anything out on in Alabama. You know, the Alabama old whitetail record is pretty much kaput now. So buck matchers, which is a great scoring system, you know, it's my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
so and it uses the total antlers. So
Which makes sense.
yeah, which makes sense. So but
Getting
anyway,
penalized for antlers, stupid
Yeah.
in my opinion.
yeah, cutting antlers off and deducting, you know,
Yeah.
points and stuff. That's
Who cares
not.
about
I'm not a big fan
deduction?
of that. You know.
Yeah.
But anyway, a huge buck, you know, 5th largest in free range in Alabama. That's something. And 230 inches or so, I think. You know, I'm sorry we ain't got the exact numbers, but it's a name.
Yeah, I can't remember either. It must have been gross. I don't remember what it was. Somebody showed me a picture of it today at my shop and knew the guy that had killed it. Because when he showed me the picture, I had seen it somewhere on Facebook and just looked at it and thought that's a high fence deer. And I never gave it another look, never read about it. He showed me that picture. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So we're talking about it being scored and all that. And I was like, good grief.
Yeah.
But I think that's what he says, the 5th largest.
It is. It's
free range
buck.
buck.
Nice. And that's
That's a big buck anywhere.
yeah, anywhere. But the people that are kind of pushing, trying to change some rules or some laws in Alabama, pushing, thinking that Alabama's going to pop 200 inches out all the time, and that I'm kind of the one like I don't believe that'll ever happen. As far as
Yeah, and
we don't have these genetics.
no,
for
it's
that.
it's hard to convince people of that too. And I see so many deer come in and out of my place, and I've gotten to where I almost want to check the teeth on every one of them. And I mean, I'm not a biologist, but when you see an old buck, it's kind of like seeing an old person. And the more of them that you look at, you start noticing these little differences in them, where they've got real grainy flesh, or they've got thick hides. And I mean, some of that's genetics, some of it isn't, but an old buck looks like an old buck. They don't look the same, even in their faces. I've gotten to where I pay less attention to antlers. I do capes and hides, and their hair quality is different, just different stuff like that. But so the teeth on some of them, I mean, that's typically what everybody pretty much ages them by, you know, unless you send teeth off and have them done, you know, correctly.
Cross section cuts.
Yeah, just the way that they're ground down. Like you can look at some deer that are not much bigger than this. Now you can see this deer has got very small bases. He's got a very thin skull cap. I mean, he's a young deer. I mean, his pedicles are not grown yet. Where you can see some deer that have got this same frame that may have pedicles that are 7 inches, and he may not be but 12 inches wide, and just kind of a thick horn here, but narrow here. And the deer may be 8 years old. And a lot of those people that bring me those deer are on private property, and they may have a picture of that buck for 4 years in a row and just never did shoot him because they wanted him to try to get bigger and bigger. And they just never did, so they finally decided to take him out of the herd. And I see that a whole lot. And I believe that happens on more properties than people even realize, where they're either not wanting to shoot a deer because they feel like it's young, or not wanting to shoot a deer because they're afraid they're going to get criticized by a bunch of people on social media for shooting a deer that's too small. And what ends up happening is, when you've got an inferior rack buck, he may still be a superior deer when it comes to age on that property. So if he's pushing some of the younger deer off of the property, even if this deer right here is 8.5 and this deer right here is 4.5, this deer right here may not be allowed on that property. Now, sometimes they will overtake that dominance and become a dominant buck as a younger deer. But in my experience on private property, that does not happen. Most of our big deer that are 200 plus pounds, even if they're a 6-point, they will be on that property day in, day out. And until you kill that deer, you won't see another big buck in that area. And a lot of times when you shoot that deer, sometimes 2 or 3 will show up all at one time. That's what happened to us last year, that exact thing. And started trying to kind of fight for that dominance in that area, and deer that you never even had on your property. You know, so it can hurt you a little bit to not take out older deer. But like you said, in the state of Alabama, I mean, most of these giants that get killed, a lot of the deer were put in from other places and other states and stuff, and there are specific areas in the state where deer were implanted, and you can, I mean, obviously tell the difference. Whereas, you know, this deer may be a 2-year-old in some of them places, you know, they're just absolute gigantic deer genetically. And most places in Alabama, I mean, they just don't have Well, if you kill a 130-inch deer in Alabama, a lot of them are 4.5, 5.5 years old.
Yeah, 130-inch deer in Alabama is a real good buck. We have the potential, to consistently produce 140s to 160s, but over 160 consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if you let a lot of deer get to about that 5.5, 6.5-year-old mark, you would see a lot more 140s to 150 to 160 right in there. You pop out 160 every once in a while, because you know how it was back in the day. I mean, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s when people were dog hunting and stuff. I mean, somebody was always shooting a 160, 170. I mean, somebody killed a 180 here or there. You know, and those were Alabama deer.
Yeah, we hadn't really, they started used to kill a deer a day in Alabama. A buck a day, excuse me. Not a deer a day, a buck a day.
Yep.
And they changed that over 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, so, it's been a while.
And a lot, but before that, due to TV and other magazines, stuff like that, the buck management stuff started getting popular with clubs and a lot of private land people. You know, Alabama, we have less than 1 million acres of public land, 700,000 or something like that. And that, people worry about, they're stressing about the deer that's been killed on that. But the private land sector is a lot larger. They've been managing deer. Some of your timber companies have got specific rules, and some of your real good clubs for 20 plus years have been doing buck management. And 200 inches ain't been climbing out of woodwork. I mean, it's just,
right.
It's just not, we don't have that. I mean, sure, every now and then, but we don't have it. So.
Well, you go up north and just go to somebody's barn, and they're going to have 30 of these laying in there with the racks chopped off. You know, they don't even care nothing about that because it's a young deer up there. You know, and it's kind of cool. Like it's awesome to be able to grow something like that early, because the bucks, for one thing, they're not that smart when they're that young. You know, it's a little bit easier to harvest them, but down here, I mean, sometimes you got to fight hard to kill a 120. I mean, some of them bucks.
120 is a daggum real good
deer. I would say that probably 50% of the deer in my shop are probably 5.5, 6.5. I mean, big, like 200-pound plus big Alabama deer that are 130-inch deer. 125, 130, which is a nice buck. But they're just not going to get any bigger. They are what they are.
As much as I've hunted, which I didn't kill my first big deer, until I was 40, I think 40 or 41 years old. But when I changed my style of hunting, so since then I've killed 5 bucks that score over 137, and that. I mean, all the years that I've been doing it. It's like you name Jamie McKay, he's killed several good ones, but his biggest is a 162, and several 140s, which I'm talking about. You look at them, they're humongous deer, but they're 140s. I mean, they're not 180s and 190s like everybody's thinking they're going. That's happening.
Inches.
And he is, he's the top public land hunter around here right now, and that's what he's killing. And people are, they're still wanting to say we need to knock the buck limit down to 1 or 2, whatever. Well, it's not, one thing is it ain't gonna work because we've got too many deer now. We're getting deer run over like crazy.
Well, I think are we still number 3 in the nation for deer population?
Probably. So I think
I think that was right last year before last.
Texas,
South Carolina,
Mississippi, South Carolina,
maybe
Alabama. Anyway, our deer is totally different. You go to Iowa and all that, their deer are more visible, and the locals there, the residents can kill 2 or 3 bucks. Minimum 2. They can 3 for sure if they want to go do some suburban hunting, but and so they're not doing it. They're killing, they're killing monster deer, compared to us. Missouri monster deer, just several, but and the only way we could change anything in Alabama, you'd have to wipe out the whole herd because it's part of it's got to do the doe genetics. The does produce the bucks that produce the racks. So you can't. That's the only way you could eliminate or do the culling, what everybody calls culling. You can cull bucks all you want and keep culling. Yeah, over time it's going to help a little bit, but you won't do it in your lifetime because the does, that's the ones, they carry the genetics for the racks just as much or more than the bucks do, so it's hard to do. So, but all we can do is do what we got, and don't, shoot what you want to shoot, and be happy. Don't just criticize. It's getting worse now. I think
it's absolutely horrible, and I'll say this too, probably at least once a week. Somebody will bring a deer in and ask me if I can score it for them. And I'm not gonna say that they're always disappointed, but what I have learned, just kind of an average, if you look at a deer that's been killed on social media or even one in front of you, and you guess the score of that deer, you go ahead and subtract 10 to 12% and put a tape on it, and you're probably gonna be real close.
Yeah.
That's just facts. I mean, I'm not criticizing anybody for they can't look at a deer and score it, but that's just kind of an average of what I've noticed. If somebody walks in, I had somebody come in today that had a jam up 10 point, I mean a hammer. And he asked me, he said, what do you think this deer will score? And I said, I think that deer's gonna go about 127, just looking at it. I said, that's a nice buck. He said, I was thinking he'd go 130s. I said, yeah, he might have said, I got a tape right here. I said, you got a calculator, we'll measure him. Well, we measured him and he was 114 or 116? Didn't even go 120.
Wow.
But he had short tines. He had good mass. You know, he had 4-inch. The first measurement was 4-inch. Second was, I think it was 3.5. Just a nice, I mean, for Alabama, just a stud, beautiful 10-point. Deer weighed, I think it weighed 155 pounds. You know, it was probably a 3.5-year-old buck. Probably three, I mean, he wasn't old and may have been a giant one day. You know, but even I, after seeing hundreds of deer know what they score, guessed him 10 inches too big. You know, just because of the width and the frame. You know, and the thing is, you take a 115-inch deer, like this deer right here goes 128, and I've got a 128 at my house that I would swear to you was 10 inches bigger than this deer. The biggest one I ever killed, this one's got 3.5-inch bases. The biggest one I ever killed has 5.5. And he's a 10-point. This is an 11. But this one's got longer tines. He's got a little bit longer beams. But you put them side by side, and that one looks like a baby. But you could literally take that 115-inch deer and add just a few inches of antler, and just a little bit of beam length and a little bit of mass, and all of a sudden you've got that 130. Right. You know,
that's what makes it so hard doing it, judging in the woods.
And, yeah,
in a hunting situation.
Absolutely,
you know,
and on social
take
media.
That, turn that sideways, turn this sideways, running through the woods.
Well, I mean, I shot this buck. I shot this buck right here for a tall tine. When I videoed the hunt, I said I just shot a buck. I don't know what he is, but he's got long tines. He's a real tall buck, and this deer's got 5-inch tines. I mean, you know, there ain't a whole lot to him. But what I saw when he come out of that thicket was this. So you're looking at, you know, what, 8 to 10 inches of tine.
Right.
But I didn't know he had a drop tine. I couldn't even. I mean, I didn't look at him long enough. When I saw that, I was like, man, he's tall, but
most of the time you just got a few seconds.
Yeah, you shoot or you lose them.
Not even a few seconds sometimes.
Sometimes you just got to make a decision. But you know, on social media, you can't tell looking at those pictures about a lot of the deer, and a lot of the pictures don't do the big deer justice. And when if somebody just says I shot a 115-inch buck and don't have a picture of it, then they'll get slammed. I mean, people talking about, man, you shouldn't be shooting a 115, but I mean, a 115-inch deer, when people are mistaking it for 130, I mean, it's a better deer. Yeah, in Alabama, that can be a mature buck. You know, some of them don't get any bigger.
Well, the mature buck thing, it kind of grinds on me a little bit, because years ago, you know, 3.5, that's mature, which in theory or biological truth, whatever, a buck can breed a doe at 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So what do you call them mature?
Right.
You know, so it's changed over the years. You know, 3.5 to 4.5. Your big, what they call great hunters now are stressing 6 plus or whatever. Mm-hmm. But most of them people have got controlled environments where it's easier, you know, by cameras or visibility, whatever, to do that. You know, they naming deer. I'm waiting on Goliath or whoever.
Right.
And
able to hunt over.
Doing that, you name one, you better not tell them about it.
Yeah, well, and there's a very good chance you'll never see him again.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see the same buck twice on public land, consecutive years, you have truly found a spot that nobody else has found yet, and that's almost 100% impossible to do. You know,
plus, if you want to enjoy it, I mean,
and that's the
hard part.
That's the biggest thing.
If you want to say, all right, I'm going to hunt 5-year-old bucks plus on public land anywhere, that's fine. I don't care. You can do that. I mean, if you can kill a 5-year-old buck every year.
Well, if you're not happy killing a smaller one, don't.
Yeah, don't.
You know, I mean, there ain't no reason to take an animal's life if you're not going to be happy harvesting.
Judging, I mean, I had very few comments on this.
Yeah, right.
And that's, I mean, my goal, as I tell everybody, is 3.5-year-old. You know, I'll get a shot. I got a shot with this one, the crossbow. If I had my regular bow, I would have had it. Anyway, every 4 or 5 years on public land in Alabama, and I'm supposed to have some kind of reputation. But
well, a lot of people say you've got the state record. Why would you shoot one any smaller?
Yeah.
A lot of people say it right there. Well, you wouldn't get to kill a deer the rest of your life.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's
anyway. I'm not gonna pass that up, especially with a bow or crossbow, and probably not with a gun. It just depends on the situation. So, but hammering on people about stuff like that, what makes them happy or they're happy with is awful. You know, I don't understand it. And to me, a lot of it could be just jealousy or whatever. But
well, many of the people are hunting private land, like you said. A lot of it is controlled situations, and there's a lot of the guys now hunting like the suburban bow hunting and stuff. It's gotten very popular, and you see a lot of gigantic deer coming out of some of those cities.
Yeah.
But you know, it's so advertised and stuff that you see those deer, and it's kind of like with some of the public lands too, where you see these giant deer coming out of these areas, and you think, man, that place is just loaded with big deer. There's all these big deer. Why don't you let the little ones grow up? When if you really look at the big picture, there may only be 3 or 4 of these giants killed out of the whole state every year. I mean, like my dad, for instance, lives in one of the best areas for suburban bow hunting you could ask for. Like, I ain't even going to say where it is, but I'm telling you, it is an unbelievable place that's nothing but neighborhoods in the middle of woods, and just, you know, amazing amounts of big bucks. He videos them from his deck, big deer, and he has never gotten a deer over about 140 on camera. He's been there for probably 10 or so years now, and he don't have 180s walk around his backyard, and nobody hunts there. You know what I mean? The entire hundreds of acres there is 100% protected, and the deer are not getting to be 160 inches in that controlled environment. You know, so
that's something, you know, as popular as that is, or as famous as that is right now, that's something that's not available for a whole lot of folks.
It isn't. It's very secluded. You've got to have the right conditions to be able to get that sort of property. Even a lease, honestly, in the state of Alabama, if you can get your own lease, that is an accomplishment. Yeah. It's gotten very hard to do because of waiting lists, because of lands. Prices has gotten horrible. The land's being locked. There's so many places that now have sold out, timber companies have sold out private, and so much land has become landlocked that in Alabama you can't access it, you know, unless you get permission from a landowner to go through their property. So, you know, a lot of these guys that I see comment that are talking about management and stuff for what you say mature deer over 5.5, 6.5, have got access to those kind of properties and hunting over food and watching specific deer and got them named. But I mean, that's just not reality, especially when you're hunting in some kind of a thick or big wood setting on public land, and you've got seconds. You've got seconds to shoot at a deer that you didn't even know was still alive from the year before. I mean, there's just too many variables, and there again, you got to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, high pressure public land, especially in Alabama. You quote Tony Myers. By the time that sucker's 5 years old, he's a ultimate survivalist.
He's unkillable.
Ultimate survivor. I mean, he's done learned so much in those years. You know, it's tough to kill one like that.
Right.
If you can do that every year, come on.
Yeah.
You know, try it. You know, I mean, we was talking about Jamie McKay. He kills some good ones about every year, but I mean, he's the best.
It's a lot of work. He puts in a lot of work.
The time he puts in is crazy.
It's amazing compared to anything I've ever done or seen anybody do. Like it is a lot of time and a lot of work.
And his biggest deer is a monster this year. He can't get it score past 139. You know, and
yeah. And he come over and brought it, put it next to that right there, and I told him, I said, it is amazing how much just a few more, 10 more inches of antler can do to the look of a buck. I mean, that is a lot of bone.
But it's 8 point, which is big for 8 point, you know.
That's a huge 8 point.
It's a huge 8 point, you know. Don't get me wrong, but you know, it's just, I mean.
But if you're gonna wait on a 160, that deer ain't gonna ever hit 160. You know.
Yeah. If you're waiting on the 160 in Alabama, 98% of the people probably ain't never gonna kill
Well,
one.
you're gonna quit hunting. Well, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna become a duck hunter. If you're waiting on a 160 the rest of your life, you're gonna become a duck hunter.
You think Jamie McKay, no, you know, public land specialist, he's killed one over 160.
Yeah.
Okay. Tony Myers, he don't hunt public land much anymore, one over 160. You
Right.
know, so.
And then, I mean, it's nothing against anybody up north, but I mean, you send Jamie McKay to Missouri and tell him to live there the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
They probably get a 160 about every year.
Yeah. I mean, it makes some people look kind of bad that's a little lazy hunting, you know, killing 160s out of their backyard. He's liable to go up there and kill a 200.
That's very possible. I mean, it's just, and we're not knocking any of that. It's just, so don't knock us or the other people.
That's it. I mean, it's just facts. Yeah, it's just facts. I mean, if a 140 is the biggest deer on your property, it's just the biggest deer on your property. You know, and when you find a piece of land that is, I mean, that land I was hunting down the road was 1,700 acres, and nobody was allowed on it but me. And the biggest deer I had on camera was about a 145 10 point.
That's a big deer.
And it had not been hunted for 20 years.
Wow.
You know, now it may have been poached a little bit, but I mean, a lot of land is if it hadn't been touched for a while, but you ain't got everybody going in there and poaching 180s off of it. Somebody would know about them.
Right.
You know?
Exactly right. But
It's just
anyway.
got to be fun. You gotta keep it fun. I mean, deer hunting's too much fun. If everybody didn't have a camera and nobody had a cell phone or an internet or nothing, and you just went out there not having a clue what was in the woods, and found you a scrape and sat on it, like you'd realize what it's like to go have fun.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy.
Exactly right. So anyway, we got off on a little bit of a tangent, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, y'all quit cracking on them people. I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy what you do, and let them enjoy what they do. I mean, we're all having fun, and we're enjoying the outdoors. We're blessed to live somewhere to have this opportunity to do it, period. So think about that versus the grappling on other people. So anyway, we're fitting to get out of here, but the season, I'm going to try to get this up here in a couple of days. You got plenty of season left in Alabama. Your northern cats want to come on and do it. You know, if you run out of season up there or you're done with your tags, come on down here and enjoy some of this nice warm weather. You know, we'll have some good 20s for you maybe. So
Yeah, they'll be making fun of us bundled up.
Yeah.
Coming here hunting a lot of short sleeves.
which our cold, when it's cold most of the time, it's a moist cold, which is a little bit rougher than some of y'all's up there. But you know, I went to Iowa a couple of years ago, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it was daggone cold. I'll give you that wind rough, but
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna take anything away from that. But come on down, you know. Everybody keep after it, you know. Appreciate y'all subscribing. Check out Cedar Ridge Chronicles. You know, if check out all his other pages. You got taxidermy page, fishing pages. I mean, rod building page, everything he can do. So, he's a man of many talents.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. I still got to work next 4 or 5 days. Gonna try to do some more hunting. Y'all get one flat. Subscribe, like. See y'all. Thank y'all for watching this video. Hey, we appreciate y'all's support. Hey, you don't care if you haven't got a book yet, Amazon, get a book. We got hard copies now available. It took me a while to get them, but hey, they're on there now. Again, we appreciate it. Appreciate everybody's hard work that helped us to get this done. You know, lifetime achievement. So anyway, you can get one, and thanks again for your support. Subscribe, like, tell your friends, and we'll keep coming up with these videos. So we'll see y'all on the next one.